Welcome back to my podcast, the show where we dive deep into the world of real estate, leadership, and building powerful partnerships that move businesses forward. I'm your host, Scott Kumler, and today we've got a very special guest joining us. Today, I'm super excited to have Armando Gomez as the guest. Armando has a unique journey in real estate, as if you look up his transactions, it won't show that he has sold any homes. But as an ISA for his team, he has sold and referred out over 1,500 deals. Armando will break down his role as an ISA and how he kept himself motivated while making dials all day. But he will also discuss his strategy with starting a team, opening his own successful brokerage, and then deciding to close his brokerage down to join EXP. If today's episode sparks ideas for you and you're an agent who wants to explore bigger opportunities, we'd love to connect. If you're interested in learning what a partnership with me and Armando looks like, either call or text me at 623-387-2688 or set up a Zoom meeting with my Calendly link below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button to see more amazing podcasts like this in the future. Now let's get started. Welcome everyone to the podcast today. I'm super stoked to have a good personal friend, business partner on today's podcast. I know Armando for an extremely long time. We've been partnering together for a good 8 years now. We've known each other in real estate, but so it's so amazing to have him on the podcast today. So Armando, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you having me, man. And yeah, it's been a good long journey for sure.
Yep. Awesome. So, obviously, I know your story, but for anyone that is kind of listening to the podcast for the first time, doesn't know who Armando is, if you can kind of take us through like the beginning stages of, what were you doing before you got into real estate, and then what ended up getting you into real estate?
Yeah, great question. So, first, again, thank you for having me, man. Truly appreciate it. I, right out of high school, was fortunate enough to land a corporate job at Chase Bank here in Arizona. Worked there in different phases of business, auto, student loans, mortgage, credit cards, things like that. And I was on the phones hours and hours every day, doing hundreds of dials, thousands a week. So I did that for about 10 years, and my wife, who's also my business partner, Nalika, she had actually started working for our mutual friend and business partner, doing TC work. And in talks, he was telling me about this new position that he had available, called an ISA. It was new then. It's, still around, but kind of harder to figure out now. But essentially, it's a referral agent. I decided community. I saw that ISA role kind of played to the similar skill sets and habits and just implementations that I was already used to. So started the ISA role, calling on different types of lead sources, kind of building our business from there. That led us to then kind of morph into a team. We were kind of running a team model, but it wasn't like a team per se. And then from there, transitioned into a brokerage. We just thought, people become top agents, they start a team, they grow the team, they open up their brokerage. So we thought that was the next logical step. And we did that for about 20 months, but we absolutely hated it. That was nothing that we liked or wanted. It kind of took away from the things that we did like and enjoy within real estate. So after about 20 months, we shut that down and merged over to EXP, where we now both work and partner together.
Nice, awesome. And so I kind of want to touch on kind of like the beginning part of your journey. You kind of talk about being an ISA, having an ISA role because you have a unique journey that most agents don't experience when they're in real estate. Where meaning like if anyone were to look up your transactions, right, it's not going to show that you sold a home. But on top of that, you've probably sold really like what thousands of homes. Like you've done so much business. You just didn't get the recognition, right? And the great thing about it is you say your ego aside, you weren't like, oh, I need my name on the billboard or anything like that. But you're kind of the back end. But the thing is, you also were doing the hardest job, right? One of the things that most real estate agents don't do, which is basically follow up. I know myself from running a team. I have a lot of agents on my team. They don't like to follow up. So kind of take me through that beginning phases of that follow up process. What type of leads were you calling? And then also, if you're dialing all day consistently, what is it that you do to kind of keep your motivation up to handle some of that rejection and some of that, that negative feedback that you get from people that you're trying to call?
Yeah, man. So we were looking at the numbers, and I'm still crunching a couple of years because I want to have a more accurate number because I keep getting that question more and more often. But eat conservatively, have been involved in over 1,500 transactions, and I've personally never written a contract and I've never shown a property. So yeah, definitely different than 99% of the industry out there. But that's what I love about real estate, right? Is there's 101 ways to do 101 things. So to me, I knew I didn't want to go do a listing appointment, show up where somebody hasn't cleaned in 2 years, smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, has 15 cats, but they can only find 10 of them. I wouldn't be able to agent like you guys where it's like, oh man, this is a beautiful house. I'd love to help. I just did not have that, patience or temperament. So, um, I like that I was able to go ahead and build the business that way, but still kind of be involved and participate in real estate. Um, so how it started was when I first got in, just like most new agents, you don't know what's going to work, right? So you kind of want to try a little bit of everything, but you don't want to get too diluted. Like I wasn't focused on open houses. I wasn't focused on social media yet. To me, it was I'm going to call like leads over the phone. But then to narrow it down to figure out what lead source worked best, because I was calling expireds, FISBOs, canceled, Google pay-per-clicks, Facebook leads. I had also inherited our business partners database. So I had thousands and thousands of old, stale leads that I was trying to, revamp and get re-engaged on. So I just dialed on everything. I'd start dialing about 7 in the morning. It wouldn't stop dialing until at the earliest 7 p.m. every single day. I worked 90/60s, which is what kind of I could touch on later if you like, but that was one of the things that helped me stay focused and continuing to ensure that I hit my numbers and, just stay focused on what needed to be done. After about 75 days or so, we just started looking at the numbers and the data. What lead source were we having the most conversations, which led to the most appointments set, to the most appointments conducted, to led to either buyer brokers or listing agreements signed, and then where were our closings because we were fortunate enough to have some early success and some immediate closings. So it was Facebook ads. That's where our majority of our numbers were, drastically higher than the rest. So threw the rest out the window, went chips all in on Facebook. And then that was a lead source that we built on. At the time, I had about 12 agents or so that I would just round robin and I would do the lead follow up, the appointment setting. I would put it on a calendar and then I would say, hey, I got this appointment set. Can you make it? And then just go down the list. And typically, I never had to go to the third because the first one or two were always happy to take it. They would go do the appointment conduction and the whole contract to close portion. So that was our process. So like I said, it was already running as a team. So that's what led us to that. In regards to what helped me kind of stay focused on that, it was one, knowing my numbers. Not only like, for example, when I pivoted to Facebook, well, even before Facebook, I knew that expires had a different reactivation time frame than expires, than FISBOs, than Facebook leads. So when I pivoted to Facebook, I knew that the average lead was about 6.7 months out from even getting ready to raise their hand to connect with an agent to say that they're ready to start the process. And then it would be another 1 to 3 months from there. I knew that I was going to get told no 5 times before I got my one yes. I knew that most people didn't answer the first initial conversation until between the fifth and 12th attempt. I just knew those numbers, which is what helped me stay in it longer, right? If I would have called 2 or 3 times and I'm like, oh, this is a dead lead or this lead is shit, I wouldn't have had the success we did. If I was only going to dial or follow up for a month or two and not give it that 6.7 month, incubation time, I wouldn't have had success, right? So knowing your numbers, and now with things like ChatGPT, you could easily find that for whatever lead source you're going to find, which is a lot easier than us having to go back and track everything. But knowing your numbers helps, but then also knowing your personal numbers yourself, right? Like I knew how many leads I needed to generate. I knew how many appointments I needed to set. I knew what that would make for my conduction and then closing rate to essentially hit the either production goal or the income goal that you set yourself, right? So know your numbers. Like how many appointments do I need to set today, this week, this month to make my goals a reality, whatever those goals may be. And then sticking to the calendar, like treating it like I would if it was a multi-million-dollar appointment. I think a lot of agents kind of because it is hard, nobody wants to do it, nobody wants to be behind the phones, but at some point you have to play the ISA role. If you're doing open houses and you're generating a shit ton of leads, at some point you're going to need to reach out and follow up with them. Same thing with Google, social, YouTube, right? Like we do any activity to get leads, but then we get the leads to follow up with them and to nurture them until they're ready. A lot of agents don't like to do that part, which is why if you commit to it, you could have a lot more success and separate yourself business wise than a majority of the industry. So just treating it like a multi-million-dollar calendar or an appointment, like putting it on your calendar, just like you would showing up early, showing up ready, because that is what then generates those multi-million-dollar, listings or buys, right? So things that I know there's a long-winded answer, but hopefully I kind of touched on the things that you had asked.
All right, awesome. So, you talked a little bit about obviously, your calls and stuff like that. You briefly mentioned the 90/60s, that you were using, which I think is extremely important because obviously, whenever you're making dials, it can get a little overwhelming to dial for like, you're talking about 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night. I mean, that's 12 hours. Most agents are like, I don't want to do an hour of dials, so obviously it takes a lot of motivation to get through that. So, kind of explain us what 90/60s are and then how you implement them in your business.
Yeah, so one of my mentors actually put me onto that, Darren Hardy, and so he brilliant dude, but he went through his training and went through a program, and they show that through a NASA study, the human brain can only focus on one singular task for up to 90 minutes before it starts getting squirrely or distracted or wanting to focus on something else. So what I would do is when it was we call them jam sessions, which was just my dial only time. When I went ahead and started a jam session, all I had open was my CRM and had my cell phone in front of me. I didn't have, Facebook open, my email open. Again, it's a 90-minute block of a singular focus activity. So all I did, I put my Vertidesk up, I'd start cranking some tunes. My body knew, okay, it's time to get shit done. So for 90 minutes consecutively, all I was doing was just outbound dials. Majority of it is leaving messages. Hopefully, we're having some conversations, setting some appointments, right? But that's all I'm doing is dialing. If somebody starts returning or like calling me back or whatever, I'm not answering it now because this is my dial session. So all I'm doing is dialing and I'm competing against myself. Like sometimes I'll set a timer because kind of gamifies it for me, makes it my own internal competition. So I'm like, how many dials can I get through within this 90 minutes? Now, I don't rush through it to give it shit quality, but it helps me stay focused, right? When I hear that tick, 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 it's like, oh shit, I got to keep my head down and make these dials, right? So I would just dial for 90 minutes uninterrupted. And once my kitchen timer went off or my timer went off, I'd go ahead and stop. And then for that 60 minutes, that's when I would go ahead then and return calls, go to the bathroom, eat some lunch, reach out to my agent partners or vendor partners like lender, escrow, things like that, like return the volley. But then right after that 60 minutes, I'd go right back into another 90-minute jam session. And I did that stagger from at the earliest 7 in the morning until again at the earliest 7 p.m. And that's what kind of helped me stay focused on just dialing.
Nice. Nice, awesome. And so, obviously, you're doing the ISA role. You had 12 agents, you're kind of round robbing leads to and everything like that. But eventually, you decided, with you and your wife, that it was time to start growing a team. Both of us, obviously started kind of building a team within the same team structure, which is one of the reasons why we partnered together so long. But what made you decide to start growing a team at that point? What made you decide to kind of start taking that leap of saying, okay, now I want to go ahead and bring agents on board and then start helping them kind of create success?
Yeah, man. Actually, I didn't want to start a team. Like our mentor, business partner, Josh, he was like, bro, like the way that you're running and operating things, the way that you're having success, the way that like everything is structured, you're kind of running it like a team. You should just start your own team, like your own division within the organization. And I was like, nah, dog, I'm good. Like I'm chilling. And he's like, okay, but then we also had other agents that started reaching out for help or coaching. We had some friends that and family that started getting their license and getting in the industry, and they were like, "Hey, can we join your team or can we partner together?" Nah, I'm good. So after a while, I was like, okay, like if we're gonna keep doing this and we do already work and help other agents within their business, I was like, why not, right? That way, at least we have a collective like name or organization that we can refer our organization to. It doesn't seem like Armando with this group and then Scott with this group is showing up and then they're doing the showings, they're doing the negotiations. So it made it kind of seem more unified. So we're like, okay, let's do it. So we started our team, and it was more just out of like we were already doing it, but then to help the agents who were asking, our friends and family. And then when we started seeing the benefit, the like growth and the impact that we were having, it was honestly kind of addicting. We're like, dude, like it's cool to help a new agent just not only get into the industry, but start having some success, start getting some small wins, but then seeing them grow and elevate their business, becoming top producing agents, starting a team, growing a team. So the more that we just saw it and how much impact we were having, we're like, well, how many more people can we help? So then we just started making agent attraction and growing our organization a priority just as much as helping agents with production because we knew the benefit. I mean, you've seen it as well because we were fortunate enough to join the right organization from the jump. It's the when you find the right organization, the right coach, mentor, community, it could help, it could be the difference of you having that success or not. You know what I mean? So fortunately, we found the right organization, found the right coach and mentor to kind of help us elevate every stage of our career, no matter where it was we wanted to take it. Which obviously then makes the journey a lot easier, right? You're not like, okay, let me start a team. Well, now what am I going to do for onboarding, for training? Well, shit, you know what? First, I need contracts for them to sign. Where do I get those from? And then having attorneys review them, right? Like, so it kind of helped that, shortcut and expedite our growth. But originally I didn't want to. But then once we started seeing the benefit of how much we were truly having an impact and, just pouring into others, it was kind of, like I said, addicting and started growing from there.
Yeah, yeah, you kind of mentioned it, right? Like being part of the right organization, how extremely important it is, and you and me obviously were both fortunate enough to join the right organization. But if you're a new agent like watching this, that's extremely important because your experience you have, real estate's not an easy business to be in, and so you want to make sure that you have joined the right organization that's got your back, that provides the right type of coaching, mentorship, and training, that provides you a lot of value. And I know when I first got licensed, for example, I always tell this story. Like the organization I thought, I kept an open mind through the process of interviewing brokerages, and I think I interviewed like 8 different brokerages. And the brokerage that I went into it thinking I was going to join, I ended up being the least impressed with, and the one I thought I was least likely to join, is the one that I ended up joining, which ultimately ended up being the best decision I've ever made. And that's one of the reasons why, especially if you're a new agent, join talking to brokerages, talking to teams, it's very important to keep an open mind because people kind of run things a little bit differently, and you kind of want to see what everyone offers. So obviously, you started your team, then you decided to make a huge leap of faith and ended up starting your own brokerage. So tell us about that experience. What made you decide to open your own brokerage, and kind of what were those like beginning stages like from like a brokerage owner standpoint?
Yeah, so you start off rookie agent. And just because I do want to touch on something that you said, because that is brilliant insight. And I know you being a team leader, talking to, dozens of agents each day, hundreds of agents a week and month. Like the school doesn't do the agents any justice, right? Unfortunately, it's a formality that you got to go through to get your license, but it doesn't teach you what to do once you have it, right? How to go get leads, clients, and ultimately compensated for your time. So I say that, and the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because when you are interviewing brokerages, what I seem to find is that agents will join a brokerage based on the best split, right? Which I get it. We all are here to make the most amount of money as possible, and I totally get it. But if they don't give you the right, as you mentioned, trainings, guidance, system support, and resources to help ensure you hit your income goals, whatever those may be, it doesn't matter what split you're on. 100% of zero is zero, right? So I feel like it's a fallacy where they want to be like they have no experience, they have no training, they have no transactions under their belt to be able to negotiate a better split or to earn a better split, but they go in and they want the most, but they don't realize that the more you get, the less you get in regards to that trainings, resources, support, right? So I thought that was a great point that you hit on. So definitely something for new agents to be mindful of. Um, in regards to us opening a brokerage, I mean, we just thought it was the next natural progression, right? Like rookie agent, top producing agent, team leader, then brokerage or business owner, right? And so, and then also too, as I'm sure you remembered and had some issues with it, but because we were a team on a brokerage, contracts were diluted, branding was diluted, onboarding was kind of confusing because they're like, wait, I'm joining you, but I'm signing up with this and this and this. So it was just a mix. So we just like we already operate as a micro brokerage anyways. Let's just go chips all in and open up our next brokerage. Now, any decision we've ever done, we do research and diligence. We don't just take it lightly. So what we were wanting was still training, guidance, systems, and support. We wanted the mentorship, the coaching, because we knew it was a whole nother beast. Fortunately, our mentor that we were with, even though we were going to leave and essentially become competitors, he's always been so gracious, still let us even use his office and have office space out of it. And he's like, dude, my coaching, mentorship, and support is not going anywhere. You'll still have access to me. Your agents will have access to me. Do your thing. I hope it works out, and I wanted to work out, and I can see that being the next step. So we had his support, and counsel more importantly. Then the organization that we were going to. was another friend and mentor, always supportive and involved in the business. And so we feel comfortable knowing that we're still going over to another community that was familiar with ours. A lot of the other, because it was a franchise, a national franchise, um, some of the other broker owners were friends of ours that we've met throughout our 9 year journey. So we knew that we would still have collaboration and masterminds with other friends and broker owners to kind of go over the woes, the shortcuts, the pros and cons, just have that sense of community and collaboration. So we went ahead and did it. And financially, like on a P&L glance, it was great. Like very profitable, awesome. Like running in the green for sure, especially first year. And it was when in these past like 2.5 years, it's been the roughest market for a majority of agents, right? Transaction volumes are down and at an all-time low. Currently, right now, I believe it's 73% of agents haven't done a transaction in the past 18 months. Well, if you add another year to that, for any brokerage, it was tough, right? So not all brokerages were there, but fortunately we were. We have a good group of agents. They're all, badasses. So ours was good, but we were just putting bars around our business of things that we no longer enjoyed or wanted to do. Like we had to be the one to QC all escrows and files. We had to be the one to get E&O, make sure it was provided to all our agents. But then if they had any E&O complaints or issues, we're the ones involved. Fortunately, we've never been involved in any type of like real estate lawsuit or complaint to where we have to go and support one of our agents or be in court with them to as the broker, right? So we've never had to do with any of that, but I didn't even think about that being a possibility when we were opening it, right? So we just had a lot of risk, a lot of headache, a lot of dumb, tedious tasks that are added as the broker owner. And so we were kind of over it. Well, we were at the crossroads where do we pay the salary to hire the employees to go ahead and offload that so that way we can get back to the things that we do enjoy, like training, attraction, agent growth and production, or are we going to see what else is out there? So we started ourselves, same thing too, interviewing other options, the EXPs, Reels, Fathoms, Epics, LPTs, all that stuff. And EXP kept definitely being the, front runner. Well, our business partner was just contemplating and then ended up making the change within our due diligence. So we took that as a sign. So we stroked the check, got out of our franchise agreement a lot earlier than we had intended. And fortunately for us, that was another one of the best decisions that we've ever made. We've been here now for about 10 months or so, have about 8x our agent count, have about almost 4x our agent production. So not just for us, because I'm not going to say it was financially a step back because we saved those salaries that we don't now have to pay, but we have the staff to be able to facilitate what it was that we were going to hire for. So we got, and at a way better quality, like our operations manager and the and our business partner Josh, who helps with agent attraction. Shit, those would be several hundred thousands of salaries, right? They do it at a very high level. So not only did we get those positions in our organization to better serve our agents, but it is at a higher caliber. So did we take a step back financially? I guess you could say that. But for our agents, in regards to trainings, resources, support, additional income stream opportunities that they get to participate and benefit from, it was a no-brainer, man. So us, the organization, the agents, it's been a great decision for sure.
Yeah, you kind of hit on something that I think is extremely important. And, you know, it's important in real estate, right, to have leverage and to make sure you partner with the right people because especially like a lot of times I see agents that want to do it on their own. They have like big egos and they're like, I don't need any help from anyone. It's same thing with like vendor partners, right? As an agent, should have vendor partners that you partner with because if you guys are all pulling in the same direction, it doesn't just fall on just one person. You have a lot of other people to help as well too. And so, same thing, obviously moving over to EXP, obviously you close the brokerage down, but when you're with a brokerage and you had your own brokerage, it relied all just solely on on you and your, success and, you hiring the right people and stuff like that. But now, by making this move over to EXP, now you have so many other people that operate at such a high level that you can lean on. So now you can enjoy your life a little more. Maybe have a little more, not maybe not, you talk about taking a step taking a step back financially, but you probably took a step forward from a time freedom standpoint, which then gives you more ability to kind of concentrate on other things as well too. So based off of your now experience, and obviously we both moved over to EXP, and so we both obviously partnered together. And so I just recently created my video myself where I talked about like my 6 month look back on my experience with EXP and things of that nature. But tell me, obviously you've been it's almost been about a year now. I think you moved over. Well, I think it was January of this last year, but a year in, how has that experience been, and how has the experience been for the agents that are within your organization?
Yeah, man. So it's been amazing. So yeah, we joined, it was January 9th of this year. So it's end of October at the date and time of this recording. So November 9th will be, what would that be? 10 months, 11 months. So to us, not like our personal production, because Nalika is my business partner. She felt bad being the designated broker. She didn't want to be doing her own productions, showings, consultations, things like that when the agents could need her. You know what I mean? So we had stepped back on production. But now she did jump back into production, but she's able to do it part time to just kind of provide our travel habits. And then it allowed us to then, yes, definitely get a lot of our freedom back. So just like you guys, we like to travel a lot. And we noticed that anytime we would travel, our business would kind of be stuck. Like there would be no, like if I wasn't doing the agent attraction, there was no more agents coming into the organization. If she wasn't there to do production, our personal income stopped growing, right? So what it's allowed us to do is one, she works about 10 to 15 hours a week towards production. This year she'll do about 60 to 70 transactions, but we have our time and life freedom back. Like our kids are getting older, other one's about to graduate high school, they're all on sports and things like that. So like we've always been intentional with being involved with our kids, our family, but we're like, dude, like our son's about to be an adult, and if he chose not to come, we can't legally make him, you know what I mean? So we just been pouring in extra, and it's allowed us to enjoy that time. In regards to our agents, man, like I said, the production has damn near quadrupled in this 10, 11 months of us being here. They have a lot more social media specific training. They have a lot of AI specific training. We meet damn near almost every single day because we can now, because we have that time freedom back. We have more one-on-one time for our agents and to support them with whatever it is that they're needing. Like one of the best things that I love about our organization is we have so many agents killing it in so many different ways: open houses, door knocking, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook groups, organic, social, which I love because we're all so well versed that we can now pour into them, cater to them to help grow their own individual business in the way that they want and prefer. So man, the agents just have a lot more, because somebody else had asked this. They're like, what would you like attribute your agents' growth this year? Because I know a lot of agents are, unfortunately struggling. This is going to be one of our organization's best years. Um, it's just the additional resources we've been able to add, the additional time we've been able to pour into them, and then truly the culture and collaboration that we provide. Even though we're cloud-based, because I know we were talking about this off camera, but even it being cloud-based and virtual, we still have a lot of good friends, connections, people in other states, right? We just got back from EXPCon, and when we saw and met them in person, it was nothing but love. It was like we've been friends for years and have seen each other multiple times, even though that was our first time seeing each other physically, right? So to us, man, the culture, collaboration, the additional resources that the agents have, amazing. But then they now get to benefit in the things that they were already doing, right? So fortunately, again, we have a lot of top producing agents. Just by them being top producing agents, being out there, being an influence, a powerhouse, a badass, they get a lot of agents like, hey, what are you doing? How, can I partner with you? Or how do I get the trainings or the resources you get? Well, hey, I'm over here. Why don't you come over here with us? And then now, because they were like, because they would do that anyways, just to help the agent out, but now they get some, income and residual income from doing so, right? From doing just natural transactions, production, capping, things like that. Now they get stock. Like even when we had our own brokerage, we didn't have revenue share and we didn't get paid any stock. Like the margins were just too thin. We couldn't swing it to where now, because they have additional income streams from just doing what they're already doing, it kind of reignited that passion, that fire, right? So, which is exciting to see. So it's kind of a mix of everything, but man, it's been epic for sure.
Yeah, I always say, whenever I talk to an agent, or even like when I've talked to other brokerages, I think one of the biggest flaws and mistakes that most brokerages and most teams make is that they don't have a great training university to train and teach their agents. A lot of brokerages will say that they offer training, but a lot of training's like in person, in a brick and mortar place, and I get it why people will think they feel like they need that. But at the end of the day, if I have a training like in an office space and I teach you how to do open houses, by the time you leave, you're probably going to forget everything I talked to you about, right? And so having that video library is extremely important because mastery is watching something over and over and over again. Like I know when I first got into real estate, I did open houses, and the way I became successful is every time I did an open house, I rewatched the video again every single time, and then I learned something new every single time. And so I feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes that most brokerages and teams have is they don't have that video library to really train agents to go out there and master the fundamentals. So if you are a new agent, whether it's through our organization or any other organization, that's something you really want to look at is what type of video library they have and what type of university they have to really train you to be successful in this industry that you can go back to and reference every single time you want to do something. And then the second thing is, whenever you're looking at coaching and training from anyone, it's kind of especially if you're a new agent, this is something that's important to note. Is whenever you're looking at coaching and training, you want to make sure you get coached and trained by someone who's actually done it. Obviously, Armando and me both get mentored by Joshua Smith. The guy sold over 7,000 homes. I think he knows what he's talking about, right? But there's so many coaches and trainers in this industry that may train you on how to cold call, but they've never cold called before. They've never sold any homes. I saw a title company one day doing a social media training, right? It's like, well, she's a title. I get that. They offer training and stuff like that. But how many homes has she sold off of Facebook, right? They haven't actually done it. And so that's what's really important. And that's a great thing about for our agents is they get coached and trained by Joshua Smith, who sold over 7,000 homes. They get trained by Mike Sherrard, who sold probably thousands of homes himself as well too, and has done it in person. So definitely extremely important. I feel like for any agent, whenever you're recruiting or whenever you're talking to brokers and teams, you may need to make sure that you're asking those type of questions because you don't want to join them and realize they don't have that type of training program that you need in order to be successful. So I do want to ask Armando, just in case anyone does want to get a hold of you and reach out to you because if they have any questions or if they want to look at what a partnership with us looks like, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, we're on all the socials, right? Facebook, Instagram primarily. So Armando Gomez, and then on Instagram, Armando Gomez, AZ Realtor. But bro, I'd have them put your link, man, just because again, when you partner with Scott, we get to still pour into you. You get the, trainings, resources, support, counsel, man. So I just put your link, have them book a call. Just know that, we're gonna be there to help serve support as well. Me, Nalika. But man, I love that you had touched on that because like I want agents, I hope that they caught that like there's multi levels there, right? So one, yeah, you want to have a 24/7 on-demand library where you can go and watch it. Like, I was telling an agent, she's like, well, I just don't want to watch videos. I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. But if you came in, as you mentioned, and we were going over open house training, but I was like, hey, but I could also record this for you so you could watch it again later. Would you find that beneficial? And she's like, well, hell yeah. And I was like, cool, we've already done that. That's what the video is for. So just watch the video, write down any questions you have, and let me know. And then watch it. Hey, do you have any questions? No. I'm like, yes, because we've done this hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times to where we know the process. And instead of you having to come in and just waste an hour drive time there, do the same training, take home the video, drive an hour home, we've already done it for you. But in addition to that, as you mentioned, but we're also still there to support them on an in-person, one-on-one basis, right? It could be virtual like this. It could be at any one of our events or office spaces. But there's multi-levels of training and resources and support there, right? And then as you mentioned, by some of the best. But yeah, man, anybody can hit us up on Instagram, social. We're an open book. We're always here to help. But again, because the way everything works, and because we partner together, reach out to Scotty, just know that, we're all here to work, collaborate, and grow together. And would hope to see you in the pack.
Yep. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And kind of like Armando mentioned, in the descriptions, I am going to put my contact information. I'm also going to put a Calendar link below to schedule a Zoom meeting. So if you want to look at what a partnership with us looks like, or one of the things I also do is I also coach and train agents on growing teams. Armando's also grown a team. So if you ever want to look at, need some help from a team growth standpoint, like let's say you're a brand, new team leader and you kind of want to learn what that looks like or need some help with that, don't be afraid to schedule a Zoom meeting before below. I definitely would love to help you. But Armando, again, I appreciate you hopping on, man. It's definitely been amazing jamming with you, and I hope you guys all have an amazing day.
Peace, guys.